Hi, welcome to part 2 on constitutional carry. One of the principal concerns that is usually brought up when constitutional carry is proposed is that without the state mandated training, the citizens that are choosing to carry will somehow be more dangerous to the public at large. This seems to be a valid point on its surface until we look a little further into the facts. Who is it that will be carrying without a permit? It won't often be those who are regularly carrying concealed, who are very serious about carrying a firearm. People like me that do that, well, eventually we get the permit anyways, because we want to be able to carry in 39 other states, not just one state. Those most likely to carry without a permit will be those who wish to carry a firearm because of a new specific threat to themselves, and they don't have the time to get the permit. The truth is, their ability to defend themselves safely is actually similar to the average person who already holds a concealed weapons permit. Most permit holders admit that they do not train regularly to keep up on their shooting proficiency, which is a perishable skill. As a firearms instructor myself, I strongly believe in the benefits of professional, supervised instruction and regular practice to keep up on the skills. However, much to my dismay, most of the people that get the permit practice very little, if at all. That being said, I've read thousands of news accounts over the years of regular citizens with no state-mandated training who have safely and successfully defended themselves with firearms in a variety of high-stress incidents. The reasons why are simple. According to John Lott's data, and he's one of the foremost authors regarding the statistics on gun laws and crime. But according to his statistics, about 95% of the time, simply brandishing the firearm is sufficient to stop an assailant. It's amazing how it changes their mind. When shots do need to be fired, the assailant is almost always at close range, making missing your target less likely. While it is true that under severe stress, civilians and law enforcement alike do not have 100% hit rates in real-life shootings, it needs to be remembered that the vast majority, virtually almost all of those rounds that are fired that miss, they don't hit anyone, and nobody's killed. It's actually extremely rare indeed to find an incident where someone was accidentally shot in the crossfire by a civilian. I've been unable to find one personally, but depending on the studies that you look at, it's anywhere civilians use a firearm to defend themselves, somewhere between 107,000 to upwards of 2.5 million times per year in the United States. And it's very hard, if not impossible, to find an incident where a missed round from a civilian in a lawful, justified shooting has gone and to kill a bystander. Now, when we look at the safety data on constitutional carry laws, we realize that there are only 3 states with sufficient accidental gun death data, both before and after passing of constitutional carry laws. Those states, Alaska, Arizona, and neighboring Montana, have not seen an increase in accidental gun deaths after passage of the laws. The concerns about safety you may be hearing now from those who are against passage of House Bill 1169 are the same concerns that were heard in those states prior to passage of constitutional carry there. Fortunately, all of those concerns are unfounded. It should also be noted that according to the FBI, in 2013, Vermont had the lowest crime rate in the entire nation and has allowed constitutional carry for their residents since it became a state in 1791. No, the earth will not end as we know it if this bill gets passed and we have constitutional carry here. All of the dramatic things that they cry about, that they say this will happen and that'll happen, it hasn't happened in any of the about a dozen other states that have passed it, and it's not going to happen here. We will be just as safe as the citizens of Vermont have been since 1791. Now, some opponents, they like to use an analogy of learning to drive and passing a driving test to get a driver's license. And they bill that as a reasonable restriction on our Second Amendment rights. This analogy actually fails in two important ways. First, about 40,000 of our approximately 50,000 concealed weapons permit holders has never taken a shooting test to begin with in order to get their permit, and they're carrying all over the state. Second, no woman has ever stood at a car dealership anxiously waiting for them to fill out her paperwork and process it so that she could get a car to defend her life or her family with. In the end, the possession of a firearm is not in and of itself inherently evil or immoral. Therefore, it should not be designated a crime by itself. It is what one does with a weapon, if anything at all, that determines if that person is a criminal or a saint. We should maintain and strengthen strong laws against violent criminals, but trust the law-abiding citizens of North Dakota to exercise their constitutional rights in responsible ways. Someone's life may very well depend on passage of this bill. Their rights most assuredly do. I encourage each of you to reach out to your state representatives in the House and let them know that you support House Bill 1169 and encourage them as their constituent to vote for passage of this bill. Thank you for your time.